I will make you host.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Okay.
What's up, Bill?
Hello, hello, Alderman Leggett. How are you doing? Hello, Dr. O'Halloran.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, hello. Thank you all.
I was on mute. It takes forever to come out of it.
Good afternoon, Dr. O'Halloran.
How are you, ma'am?
Fine, sir. How are you?
Good.
Alderman Leggett, how are you?
Good afternoon, team. How y'all doing? Hey, Doc.
How are you?
Hello. First time I seen you, it looked like you're not in the fog this time.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my video. It was down for about a month or two, and now all of a sudden it's back. No clue.
Weather changing.
Dietrich, how are you? Too.
You went mute, Brother Dietrich.
Oh, I'm sorry. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
It's early. It's early.
Well, that depends on how you're looking at it. It's getting
Well,
later.
you know, folks like us, we still got a long day to go.
Gotcha.
You know, I won't be done until I get into bed. And then they call us out after that. So right now we're still dealing with this person that's up on the roof that jumped off of Stillwell Towers this morning.
Wow, sorry to hear that.
So between that, the dog's been called downtown for some type of suspicious bomb situation. It's a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Is everybody in? CEO Malden, you about ready?
Dr. Robinson coming?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're missing Dr. Robinson. We'll reach out to.
We've got some new faces in here. Can you introduce them when you start?
I can. It's actually on the agenda under new business. But I will do whatever you all would like for me to do.
Oh, we can keep it under new business.
Oh, okay, I see it. Never mind.
Okay, we have Dr. Robinson, who has joined. So, Alderman Leggett, your members are here.
Okay. Today I'd like to call to order the Performance Monitoring Audit Committee, Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. I'd like to call to order. We have our CFO.
Yes,
we
sir.
have everything for our committee presentation.
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Thank you, Director Leggett. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to begin with the financial update for September 2020. Beverly, if you can assist with the slides, please. Okay, the financial update for September 2020 is as follows. Next slide. The revenues for the month ending September 30th, 2020 total $1,853,651 are $595,358 below budget. We continue running fare-free service during the month of September due to COVID-19. We collected no fares through the fare boxes, nor were there shuttle service fares for the month. Total expenditures for the month are $1,916,060. We're under budget by $380,596. The total expenditures are over revenues for the month by $62,409 and over year to date by $402,205. Next slide, please. Currently, our major revenue sources are the special district taxes, which is 57.75%, and paratransit, 22.70%. These funds are received through Chatham County. Our federal grants revenue is 16.91% of total revenue. Contract revenue, which is 2.46%, includes agreements with the City of Savannah, Savannah Convention Center, the Westin, and the University Shuttle. Next slide, please. The agency's greatest expenses are the salaries, which is 46%, and employee benefits, 19%. The remaining expense categories represents less than 10% of the total expenses. Slide. This slide actually represents the cash that we received throughout the month of September. And as you can see, from Chatham County Special District Taxes, we only received $95,559 during the month of September. Paratransit, $398,437. Marine Services, which we received from the City of Savannah, per occupancy room rates, $36,619. Through grant funding, we received a total of $711,073, which was for preventive maintenance and operating assistance. Our operating cash balance as of September the 30th, $4,112,855. Next slide. With our ending balance as of September, as shown on our projected cash versus our actual cash, we are on target to have an ending balance of $4,641,125 at fiscal year end June 30th, 2021. This concludes this month's financial report. Are there any questions, please?
I don't know. I have actually one or two.
I have one.
On that grant funding money, is that capital grants or was that specifically for maintenance and operation?
That was specifically for maintenance and operations.
Okay, is that part of, I'm sorry, was that part of the CARES Act or is that our normal allotment?
$360,000 of that was a part of the CARES Act.
Okay, and what percentage of the special district tax money have we actually collected out of what we projected?
We've only collected 7.1% as of September the 30th.
7.1%.
Yes, sir.
That for September or for the entire?
That's from, yes, sir, July through September the 30th.
7%?
Yes, sir. As you might remember, we only received the bulk of the money during November and December,
Right.
May and June. Yes, sir.
So it's actually in June's numbers, so it isn't showing up in this year's budget.
Sir.
It's the money from June
Mm-hmm. Yes,
has
sir.
already been written off for last year.
That's
But
correct.
of what we normally expect for that 3-month period, did we get like 95% or better?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I know we were hoping that that number would hold. And that marine services number, is that up or down? Because I know that's based on the room rentals and fees that the city charges.
Yes, sir. Actually, that number is down. The $36,000 is down. It is based on the per occupancy rate per room. And yes, sir.
And we're still not doing the shuttle yet. That's still waiting on Savannah State.
We're still in negotiations. If I'm correct, Ms. Malden, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. We're still working with Savannah State to try to come up.
They only have a small percent of students back, so I think they were going to do it in-house. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Royal, this is Dr. Robinson. Mine was again about the Marine Services Funds.
Yes, ma'am.
Help me understand. I understand it's room occupancy, but it does not include the shuttle, which we run for free. I mean, I'm sorry, not the shuttle, the
Ferry.
The ferry.
Yes, ma'am. Those fees, the revenue that you see here does go towards the ferry service. With the ferry service, the city of Savannah, the Westin, and the Savannah Convention Center all contribute to paying for the operating cost of that service.
But that 36,000 only represents, so that money that we get applies to that, goes toward that.
The monies that we get from the city of Savannah, yes, ma'am, it goes towards the expenses of the marine services.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else from anybody?
Alderman Leggett.
Yes, please.
In addition to this report, I have asked Mr. Ray Williams to join us on this Zoom. I think that there was some misunderstanding by some of the board members. They were under the impression that we were running a $16 million deficit. And I actually sent an email to the board to clarify that we are not running a $16 million deficit. And I've asked Ms. Williams to join us to further explain that. But I just want to be sure that we're all clear that we are not running a $16 million.
Yeah. I thought that was clarified last month when you talked with us about it.
I did. Right. And if you want us to provide the figures again, I just wanted to again make myself available because we are moving forward with many initiatives. And I know it makes it very hard to be receptive to that if you're under the impression that we're running a $16 million deficit.
Can we send it? Can we send it again to the members as an email so that they can have it in the archive?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be nice to have it again, because looking at what I saw at Jodas running deficits every single year since 2009 and totaling 16 million over the last 5 years.
Right.
That money had to come from somewhere because we paid it out to somebody.
Well, we basically have covered those deficits, and then we fell back into a deficit. Then we cover it up, then we fall back little by little. The 16 million was the aggregate, but the 16 million is not the current state of affairs at Chatham Area Transit. And so,
yeah, that graph made it look like that was the total every year being. And I know we borrow some from maintenance and operations in the capital grant fund to cover some shortages, which the FTA does allow, but those don't really show up anywhere.
Well, we will have Ms. Williams forward that information to everyone, just so that you have it. But I wanted to state that on the record.
If we were 16 million in the hole, no one would be getting a check.
Right.
But if it's graphed out better, it would be easier for everyone to understand, including the public.
Well, Ms. Williams did a good job of breaking it down. And so,
Yeah, no, it was,
yeah.
I mean, I figured that it was impossible to be 16 million in the hole, but I'm not sure the public knows that, and we don't want to have them thinking that we're completely incompetent.
No,
All right, thanks. Yeah, I figured it out after I looked at it a couple of times, but I think if we clarify it that it's a running deficit and not a cumulative deficit, then we're better off.
Okay.
Because we're always in deficit when we don't get the tax money until December. We're in deficit for September through December.
Ms.
Yeah,
Williams,
so-
if you want to add something
Yeah.
to that?
So Director O'Halloran, and for everybody's benefit, the purpose of looking at that, because these numbers come from the audit. So at the end of the year, when you're audited by your outside auditor, they're looking at what you actually spent versus what came in. So the deficits are based on what was audited as revenues received and the expenses that went out. But when you add back in whatever the ending balance of cash that's left, the agency is in the positive. But the point of that exercise was to show that the transit agency, we're either exceeding our expenses that were adopted by the budget. So it's more of a guide, just so the board is aware that you adopt a budget, but in the past, I guess, years since 2009, that, you know, you always exceeded your expenses. And so it's just kind of more for a tool going forward for financial management to make sure that we're not exceeding the expenditures or not spending more than what you guys adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for adding that.
Mhm.
Anything else? You okay, Dr. O'Halloran?
Yeah, I just, you know, we're gonna have to be a little more precise with our budgeting if we're going over every year, or we're gonna have to find new revenues to cover those gaps. But I see we have a whole budget process coming up, so we'll work on it when we get to it.
We'll just make sure that we keep that in our back pocket so we can
Yeah.
get that to everybody else. Anything else from anybody?
No, I'm all set, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Royal. Thank you for that.
Chairman Leggett, Chairman
Yes,
Leggett,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
this has nothing to do with the budget, but what I'd like to ask is I see faces on the screen
Yeah,
that
they're
I'm
gonna
not
get to,
familiar with. At
she's
some
gonna,
point,
that's part of the agenda at the bottom. She's gonna introduce everybody to the leadership team introduction.
I saw that, okay, I saw it at the bottom. I was just thinking we might want to move it up because as we talk, I think it's nice to know in the front end, you know, who we're addressing. So.
Okay, Miss Malden, you want to jump in there?
Absolutely. Thank you for that feedback, Dr. Robinson, and thank you, Alderman Leggett, for the opportunity to move this up on the agenda. On last month, of course, we rolled out phase 1 of the restructuring of the organization, and a part of that restructure is changing up our leadership structure within the organization. We have gone from an organization where a lot of the power and oversight was in 1 or 2 positions, and we have decided, based on best practices, of course, in the industry, to spread the distribution of power and oversight within the organization through 7 chiefs. And that is based on best practices within the industry. And so, of course, last month I announced the promotion of Ms. Beverly Dumas to the role of Chief of Staff. And she oversees, of course, she's the board liaison and of course oversees all the affairs within the executive office. The position of Chief Operating Officer, of course, was vacated from Mr. Mike Brown. And then of course, we have recruited Mr. Lenny Cooksey to serve in that capacity. And he joined our team on Monday, on October 12th. As the Chief Operating Officer. He comes to us from Baton Rouge. He is from Jacksonville, Florida, and has extensive experience. And I'll give him an opportunity. What I'll do, Alderman Leggett, if you want, I'm going to just go through the introductions, and then at that agenda item, if you want to hear from especially our new people. Do you want to do that at the end, or do you want to do it all at once? I can't, you're muted.
Yes, ma'am, that sounds good, so we can keep moving.
Okay, that's fine. Then, of course, we have our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. David Stearns, which you all have heard from extensively throughout all of the meetings. And then we have our Chief Strategy Officer, who is Patricia Harris Moorhead. Now, she is in the same position that she was in before, but we have actually realigned the focus of her division to be more forward facing. You know, we're running around like chickens trying to make sure that we're running our agency today. Somebody within the organization has got to be planning for tomorrow. And that's really the task that at hand for our Chief Strategy Officer. We have added a Chief Safety Officer. If you recall, the FTA, with their intense focus on safety and oversight, has mandated that there be a senior member of the leadership team that reports directly to the CEO as the Chief Safety Officer. And so we are pleased to have recruited Mr. Charles Hall to be in that capacity. He comes to us from SCAD most recently, as well as a 27-year veteran of the Savannah PD. And then we have our Chief Communication Officer. In realigning the focus of the Strategy Officer, we separated out marketing communications and PR to a Chief Communication Officer. And so the Chief Communication Officer is Ms. Nikki Freeney. She is the young lady you see with the red glasses on. And she has many years of experience in both the public and the private sector, transit, as well as government. And so we look forward to having her serve in that capacity. We have not finalized the Chief Financial Officer role as of yet. We are in the final stages of getting that position lined up. And so we'll be making an announcement, possibly even as soon as by the board meeting. But as soon as we have all of that firmed up, we will be making that announcement. But that does not take anything away from the job that Ms. Royal has done as our interim CFO, as well as Ms. Williams riding shotgun really from the very beginning when we found ourselves without a CFO. And so just want to recognize both of them for the stellar job that they have done. And then, of course, I want to circle back around to Mr. Dumas, who, of course, served as the interim Chief Executive Officer when we had a vacancy during that time. And he is an employee that I think everyone knows. 30 years of service to Chatham Area Transit. He's been an invaluable member of the team, and I really want to salute him for the job that he did in stepping up to the plate and filling that void and allowing me to get some sleep at night by not having to serve as the CEO and the COO. And so he is actually going to remain a part of the leadership team in the role of Deputy Chief Operating Officer. So we're excited to have his leadership and his tenure near the top as well. So that rounds out the introductions of the executive leadership team. And then, of course, we have Ms. Dion Adams, I think that's on the phone, as well as Eric Curl, who are two both very, very valuable members of the CAT team. And I'll turn it back over to you, Alderman.
Well, thank you, and welcome each and every one of you to our CAT family. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you, especially as much as we need you on these small boards. And if I could speak for all the members of the entire board, welcome again and again.
And Alderman, I forgot to introduce Miss Bryn Dice, which I think you all know her. I was trying to make sure I got all my boxes covered. So Bryn, please excuse me for doing that. But of course, she is the recently promoted grant administrator. So I apologize for that.
Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Now we have see Mr. Dumas, our interim COO, with the presentation.
Okay. Just a moment. All right, so thank you, Committee Chairman Leggett, and to all the CAT board members that are on our call today. Just want to touch bases with our proposed fall 2020 schedule service change. We've talked about this last month, and we just want to refresh it again in your mind. We did make some adjustment based on our cost per service hour. And so the numbers that you'll see will reflect those new numbers. The service optimization is what we are continuing to do. We're going to continue to focus on that. So we look to reduce our service and optimize our holiday schedule. And this schedule will include route number 11, 20, and that typically does not run on holidays. To help with social distancing during our peak hours, we're adding additional buses on Route 10 East Savannah, the 14 Abercorn, and 17 Silk Hope. We will continue to monitor all of our routes and add additional buses that may need to be added as we look at our ridership up and down. Our service will continue to end at 10 o'clock p.m. Monday through Saturday. Our fixed route daily service revenue costs, we've looked at those hours and made some minor adjustments. The weekday, we've included Sunday on this list. However, we will not run Sunday service beginning November 2nd that week, but we will run the weekday and Saturday. So the service hours are as indicated. These calculations are based on $120 cost per hour for our fixed route services. And they include, wages, fuel, maintenance, and administrative costs. So all those are factored in to come up with the service hour cost. As we continue to look at our service, what we hope to gain out of this is that we'll have a slight reduction in the number of peak vehicles, meaning that the busiest hour of the day will drop from 36 to 34. Again, that may go up and down depending on how ridership begin to come back, and we'll adjust, adding additional buses if necessary. The monthly core revenue hours will be reduced by 1,235 hours, which equals about 10.7% reduction. The cost is based on 30 days, and it will reduce our cost by $138,196. The Sunday service will temporarily be suspended for cleaning or deep cleaning, and as well as the 100X will temporarily be suspended as well. The proposed service frequency, well, these are just the time span that you can expect, or customer will expect Monday through Saturday. Waiting time on our vehicles as they service throughout the area. So there have been some adjustment where some routes will have maybe a little longer wait, but those were routes that were not performing as well. And then the routes that were performing well, we've increased the peak time, particularly on Route 14. At peak time, they will have a 15-minute wait during the peak time. So that's important that we did that. And we want to provide service where we really need to put it out during the November service change. And that concludes my slide. If you have any questions, certainly we will entertain those at this time.
Mr. Dumas, you said that we're going to suspend service on Sundays for the month of November or December?
Well, it will begin in November 2nd. It will run until through this COVID crisis. So it will run, we anticipate that we will have that through November until June of next year. And again, we will monitor, but it will start in November.
So this, Dr. Robinson, let me make sure I'm clear. So starting November 2nd, there'll be no Sunday runs. Is that what I'm hearing? That's correct. And that decision was made based on just for the deep cleaning purposes, or?
Well, it was made for financial reasons as well as to allow us to have a reset day. We looked at all of our ridership days, and of course, Sunday, we do have the lowest ridership, but we're also getting more and more inquiries from the public around making sure that we're deep cleaning our buses, making sure that we're taking all the precautions. And so to err also on the side of caution, we decided that we would go ahead and recommend temporarily suspending the service on Sunday, just during the COVID crisis, which we honestly anticipate will be around at some level through the end of this fiscal year. So it's driven by finance as well as by a need to just really, really deep clean our vehicles. We now are installing the protective shields. There'll be additional cleaning that needs to go on around those as well now that we're installing those. So we really want to just make sure we're doing everything we can to give a safe, clean environment for our operators as well as for our customers.
And the reason why I ask is because when I think about November, December in the city, I think about the holidays and the upsurge in shopping, and you know, a lot of folk depend on transit on Sundays just to do just that. But I don't know historically what it has looked like, and I understand, you know, that we're under COVID and all that good stuff and budget and all that stuff. But my concern again is about, you know, those folk, you know, especially during those 2 months, you know.
Well, we definitely have an ear to the community. A couple of things, of course, we have our community meeting coming up on Wednesday. We'll be talking about the service changes as well. And then, of course, we are, you know, reaching out to the community in a lot of different ways. One of the ways we're talking about is a pastoral council, where we kind of have a ear to what's going on in the faith community as well. A lot of churches, some churches are in, a lot of churches are not in.
Having service. Yeah.
Right. So
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was unmuted.
That's okay, but some churches are in, some are not. And so we want to be a partner for the faith community as well. And so we're keeping an ear to the ground in terms of when churches are coming online and all of that. You know, all of these decisions are always up for review, but we're putting things in place to make sure that we are, in fact, in touch with the community.
We're leaving ourselves open enough to be able to make changes as needed, depending on how COVID is going up and down.
Yes, sir, we are.
And I've got two other questions. Did I understand from the slide that the savings, these changes will generate $138,000 in savings? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. That is based on our new service hour calculation, which I will, in full disclosure, as a part of our budget process, we recalculated and certified our hourly rate, which is a bit higher than what I think traditionally we have put out as our calculated rate. So the savings, while $1 is $1, it is probably not as high as we would have originally liked it, because our fully allocated cost is a bit higher. But the cost of everything is higher right now.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that was because you're right, $1 is $1. I agree. But to me, that's not a lot of money if you're gonna not service the customers. You know, that's my concern. My last question is about when I see the peak hours on buses. Historically, I need to know about 31. That's that Skidaway Sandfly run.
Okay.
Into Walmart, and serves a lot of people. But it doesn't say that route is getting any attention.
Well, if I may, Dr. Robinson, with that, we do watch that route regularly. We currently have more service on that line than we've had. We have 2 buses that run throughout the full day. Then we have 2 other schedules that run through the peak time at AM peak and a PM peak. Right now, the AM peak and the PM peak, they don't ride that many customers right now. But the schedule 1, schedule 2 continue to ride. So we're not going to impact those 2 schedules. But the tripper buses that we've had, we will run those only when they're necessary, as opposed to running them every day when we're sometimes carrying only 3 to 5 passengers, you know, or less per hour. And that's very costly to have that bus go up and down the street when we're only carrying 3 to 5 passengers per hour on that at a regular rate.
And when you say triple run, you mean the 31, the 28, and the 4?
Well, the 30, when I say a tripper, that means that an additional bus other than the regular scheduled buses to kind of help with overcrowding. So because 31 is busy, it's not as busy to continue to put those 2 buses out every morning, Monday through Friday, and every evening, Monday through Friday, because we're not transporting that many passengers on a consistent basis.
And Dr. Robinson, that's one of the reasons why we kind of did a pivot with regard to our talking points. I know in the beginning we talked about more of a service reduction, but now we really think that this is more of a service optimization. We have to run lean and mean. And so with the adjustments that we've made to the service, we're trying to put the right amount of service in the right places at the times when they need it, as opposed to just saying we're unilaterally cutting service across the board. And so we're monitoring all of our routes, looking at ridership trends and all of that. And we've made adjustments because, as you can see, we went to the Holiday Plus, but we added that plus was a whole lot that we added back to holiday service to get to where we are, which really is the level that we think is appropriate, because we don't want to get into a situation, for instance, that we got into with other routes where we were just running buses and they were empty. We're trying to make the most out of every trip that we have out there. Every bus that we have, we want to make sure that they can be full and available for the customers that need them.
And I do appreciate the fact that the monitoring piece is going on, and I don't want us to jeopardize service just because of dollars. I mean that, because Savannah's some areas are working class families and all they have is CAT. So I just want us to be aware of the fact that my concern is about making sure that when we make these changes, that we're not forgetting the folk that we serve. And I appreciate you looking at it. That was very encouraging and insightful for me, that 31 is one of the bus on your radar, because I mean, that is really a working community, as well as the 10 as well. So thank you.
We definitely understand. And I have to also give credit to, I think when I initially started talking to you about these changes, I used to talk about the 14 because that's what was on my phone. I became an extra customer service representative fielding calls about the 14. So when I did that, a lot of people started calling and waving and saying, hey, we need additional service over here. Our operators, we put it back to the operators. Let us know what routes you're running that have full buses, or that you end up leaving somebody on the bus. And so they've really started communicating with us as well. So I'm really happy about where we are in terms of these service adjustments, because they've been informed by not only just statistical data, but real-time input from our operators as well as our planning staff. So we're open though, Dr. Robinson.
I actually have 2 or 3 questions. I'm glad we finally fixed that fixed route number. We were throwing $99 around for years. I mentioned $112 about 6 months ago, and they said I was crazy. Now it's up to 120. I mean, there's an increase every year, and that dictates how much we ask the county for to operate the company. If we were doing it at $99, that's why we're $2 million short in budgeting, even with cuts. I understand Dr. Robinson's question about, first, do we know when, Dietrich, any idea when the shuttle and circulator will be back?
We put that question out there, and I think we have a new interim city manager coming in, and that'd be a question for him, because we've already asked Pat Monahan, and he couldn't give us a definite date. I mean, the mayor is in, they're ready for it. We just was making sure that the numbers would make sure that we could put enough people on the bus. Yeah, and people were going to be on the bus in the social distance. So we're ready for it. We just had to make sure the science was going to follow us.
Yeah, I think that would help with Dr. Robinson's question about shopping on the holidays. If the local bus was running around downtown, then we don't have to be so concerned about getting everybody down there if they can get around downtown on the shuttle service. The only thought I had, and it's something we can look at, is possibly having the service added for maybe Thanksgiving to after Christmas, when all that shopping does occur, for those 5 or 6 weeks, and then discontinuing it again in January, particularly on Sundays, because a lot of those businesses are open. People are out already at church, and they may want to get around. I mean, I'm not talking about returning it permanently, but maybe for that 6-week holiday period. You have the tree lighting. I don't know if that's happening this year. A lot of stuff goes on downtown. There's the lights, there's the tours around to the homes. I don't know. We don't know yet what's going to happen. That may or may not be available come December. They used to do all the tours of the old ancient houses, old houses downtown. And my other thing is maybe we could just put out a list of the Sunday monthly totals for the last 12 months so we can see how drastically changed that is.
Okay.
I mean, once we see it on paper, then everybody says, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now, especially at 120 an hour.
Okay, we can definitely do that. And I also want to add, I sent over a study from the American Public Transportation Association has published a study that basically says that there is no definitive correlation between riding on public transit and the spread of COVID-19. I did send that to Mayor Johnson as well as to Sean Brandon. And we've been talking about the return of the DOT. I think they had it slated for phase 3. And yes. I am trying to at least get them to consider moving the DOT up to phase 2. And that was why I sent them that research. And so we're actively talking about it. And so we're having a great conversation. They mentioned that Alderman Leggett has not let them off the hook either on his end. And so we're really, really working hard to try to get the DOT back online, because we've heard from countless customers. We've heard from the chamber. Everybody wants to see the service return, but we want to do it, of course, at a time that it's safe.
Yeah, I think I saw an article where there was actually one public transit transfer of COVID in the nation. So I think that's a small enough percentage. And I do appreciate how much we keep track of what APTA's giving us, because they have all that research. And for the board members who don't know, you can go online as members and look at all that stuff, because as a board member, you're automatically a member of APTA.
Right.
And what was my other? I think that was it. But like I said, I just like the idea of possibly during the shopping season, because I know I like to go downtown, and if I can get on a free shuttle and park up by Forsyth Park and not have to pay to park downtown for 6 hours at $2 an hour, no offense, Dietrich, I would prefer to do that. I had to pay to go to the MPO meeting. But I think we're going to get there. I know the people in the city have been under a lot of pressure, and we appreciate what they're going through and what we're going through. And let's hope we get everything corrected by January. We can get to the right spot on funding for next year.
Well, we're not the only people that's asking. I mean, the community itself as a whole is asking for the DOT service to come back. And by the time we come back to the next meeting, I have a definite answer from our leadership at the city.
I know you guys are running a deficit too. We understand that. That's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
Anyone else for the cause? Okay, CEO Malden, it's on you.
All right. So for our FY 2021 budget amendment update, Beverly, if you don't mind sharing your screen so that we can put that information up. The S in SCORE stands for stabilizing and strengthening our finances. And we're doing just that by presenting the board with a balanced amended budget. In June, shortly before I arrived, and incidentally, I've been CEO of CAT for a little over 100 days now, the board passed a budget of a bit more than $27 million. Now, due to COVID-19, decisions made around how we handle COVID-19 and our response as well as the Chatham County tax receipts, which Dr. O'Halloran just spoke about. They've all had a great impact on our budget's bottom line. And so, an internal leadership team of professionals from throughout the agency, from various departments and disciplines, we have all been working together since August to recreate our budget and to get to the bottom of the source of the numbers that make it up, which is very important. We literally recreated the formulas for how we compute our service hours, our cost ratio, because it is very important that as we explore these additional lines of service and shore up the lines of service that we have, that we are aware of how much it costs to run our service. Mr. Ray Williams actually has led us through the budget process internally. And so we're very pleased that on Friday, I plan to hand deliver a draft copy of the budget book, and yes, I did say budget book, to the entire board for them to see. Now, a few things that we learned through this process: our fixed route service, again, is around $120 per service hour. Our paratransit is around $85, and our ferry service is around $255. And Ms. Williams, correct me if I'm wrong on those numbers, but we have worked very hard to put together this budget book. Next slide, Ms. Dumas. And so we have followed a strict schedule in terms of how we plan to present this budget amendment. I know that most of you all probably expected me to produce an amended budget just because the budget was passed before I officially started as the CEO. And then that was compounded by the cash flow issues that we discovered around August. So all of that contributed to our need to hurry up and get our budget amended so that we can operate in line with a more realistic budget. So, of course, we finalized the recommended budget on October 12th, which was yesterday. Everything was due to be into Ms. Williams. I've gotten the final numbers that she's computed. And again, we are moving from the $27 million budget, a little over $27 million that was adopted in June, to now a $24.4 million budget is what we intend to introduce. Again, we will get the finalized draft to you all by Friday. And again, we plan to hand deliver a hard copy to all of the board members. It'll be in a folder. It won't be bound just yet because it is a draft. And then we were looking at holding a board budget workshop. Now, the date that's scheduled right now is November 3rd. In the prior committee meeting, it was requested that we move that to Thursday, November the 5th instead. So we would be interested in getting feedback if there's any reason why you would not want us to move it. We recognize November 3rd is election day, and we don't want to do anything to discourage anyone or deter anyone from exercising their right to vote. So November 5th is what we're looking at for the board budget workshop. We kind of combine that with the committee meetings. We're looking at having our first reading and first public meeting or community meeting on our amended budget on November 11th at 5:30 p.m. And then we're looking at having our second reading, public meeting, and board approval of the FY 2021 operating and capital budget at the November board meeting, which will be held on November 17th, 2020. So that is our schedule for how we intend to go about pushing through the budget amendment process. I'll entertain any questions that anyone has about the process so far.
I just want to, this is Dr. Robinson. I just want to make one suggestion. What I would do, I would go ahead and take that November 3rd off altogether. You've got one more committee meeting, so there's no need to explain it. I would just go ahead and take it off.
And I wasn't sure. I thought that Ms. Dumas had forwarded this information to the board, so I didn't want to risk this information being sent out to the board, and then once you saw it, it had a different date on it. So I was just trying to keep it consistent, but I will definitely.
Because nobody's going to show up on the 3rd after we voted. We're just not going to do that.
A
I
lot of
get
us
that.
have responsibilities with the election.
Yeah.
I
Just a
get
question. We used to have 2 budget meetings, one to basically present the finalized budget, and then a week or so later have a question and answer session based on what the board got to look at on the budget. When are you going to have the actual finalized?
Well, I actually intend to include that as a part of my my presentation at the board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, at the next board meeting, I'll be presenting the amended budget as well.
Okay.
But you all will already have a draft by Friday, so nothing that I present should be brand new to you at the time. But we will be presenting it. The board will have plenty of time to look at it, ask questions. The community will have a chance to weigh in, and then but keep in mind, this process is probably a little bit shorter than it would be if we were doing the budget for this year, since this is the amended budget process.
Right. And what about the budget for 2021? When are we going to start formulating that?
The kickoff is in January.
Okay, just to check, because we used to start that around now, but since we knew we were going to have to amend the budget. We had no idea when that CARES money was coming in. And when I was chairman, I was following weekly on where we were money-wise. And unfortunately, the change came before we got you all the information you needed to know. And I appreciate what you've done to do it. And we amended it. What are the amended revenues going to be? Do we have numbers on that to match up against that 24.4 million?
Yes, Ms. Williams, who has led our budget process, has all of that information. I would just ask in the entrance, give us till Friday to give you.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because we talked about there's expenses. I'm just wondering where we're going to be on revenues, because we don't know what June or January and December are going to bring us with the tax from the county.
Right.
Because a lot of people are still in trouble money-wise, so we may not see those full numbers then either.
Right. Well, we have gotten a memo from the county that says the revenues would be down, I think something to the tune of $600,000 or so less in terms of the receipts. And so we adjusted our budget based on that. And that's the whole reason why, again, the budget that was passed in June was 27 point something. It was like 27.7. And again, the budget that we're going to come back before you is 24.4. So that's $3 million less. So that adjustment is due to the reduced receipts from the county, as well as the fares that we have not been collecting all of these months. And we probably still won't get into the real cycle of collecting fares until December, January, because we're in the process of installing our shields now in the buses. And we did not want to even recommend that we go back to collecting fares until we get all those protective shields.
No, absolutely not.
Installed in our buses. So all of that has been taken into consideration as we've worked through. And like I said, huge shout out to the entire team. You know, this was a agency-wide process. We all worked together. All the leaders in the agency worked together. And this is not just a one-time, you all pass this document and it's over. We've put controls in place to ensure that we're monitoring the budget on a monthly basis, any variances on either side, revenues or expenses. And so we'll be able to drill it all the way down to a micro level to understand where we need to make adjustments so that we can stay in line and on budget.
My question on this second reading, this is actually the FY 2020 operating and capital budget, or 21?
This is the 2021. This is not the next one. This is this fiscal.
That one started on July 1st.
Right, on July 1st.
Okay, because I know come January, the county's going to start having your meetings about the millage rate. And we're going to need our budget numbers as quickly as possible because we found out about mid-January last year what the millage rate was going to be, and we got to be able to see if we can fit that as part of the plan because it obviously wasn't enough. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen that budget numbers yet, so. And I think the 1.15 was probably less than we should have asked for, but I don't think we had much option there. But hopefully
I think
going forward.
I think that if receipts allow, I mean, I think that we're in a much better position in terms of even justifying why we need what it is that we need. I think
we've lost a lot of revenue in the last 6 months.
Right. So I think we're in a really good position to make the case for why we need it. So I feel really good about it. And again, we're going to kick off our internal process in January as well.
Okay, because you're going to have probably at least 3, maybe 4 new commissioners. So they're going to have to be brought into the whole process from the get-go because we know we're losing at least 2. And after election day, there's a possibility of more. We don't know yet.
Right.
But we've got to be ready because they're going to need to be brought up to speed as well.
Absolutely. And I've actually made it a point of meeting with all of the candidates, Did
you get Jason Butelman come in? I know he canceled last time.
He did, but he did come in.
Oh, good. All right.
He did come in. We had a really good meeting with him. We had a really good meeting with Commissioner Ellis as well. We've had meetings with, again, several candidates because we want everyone to understand that transit is an important issue in this election.
Chatham County,
and for Chatham County. And so we have made sure that we're on everyone's radar.
And they're expanding further and further out from downtown. They're opening up all the way down to the Walmart on 17 and that whole corridor down there.
Correct.
And of course, we got all the cities that we need to get back in the loop and got a lot of work to do, but you've done a lot right now and I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. And thanks to the team.
Yes, I know it's a team effort and I'm glad we have the people in place that can help.
That's great. Anything else for CEO Malden? Thank you, Ms. Malden. Right now, we don't have anything for financial performance review or operational policy and system review. So we're going to go to proposed agenda items for October 27, 2020, please.
All right. And Beverly, you can unshare your screen. All right. So the proposed agenda items, of course, A and B are the 2 standard items that we have had on the agenda that deal with COVID-19 emergency measures and the CEO authority during this period of COVID that we put on the agenda and the board considers ratifying it on a monthly basis. Any questions about those 2?
Did they cut out any in the first meeting?
No, they didn't.
Okay. That way we know we're not going to have to rebudget. Okay.
No, and then of course C is the after renewal. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Why it's important to continue to be a part. You would not want a doctor to be out of the bar, the medical association, nor would you want an attorney to be out of the bar. And for that same reason, it's important for us to be a part of APTA.
Are the dues still the same as last year?
They are. Unfortunately, they are.
Well, we know what we pay for other services, like our solicitors and stuff, but 26 for what they do when they have their events is well worth it.
It is, and they've been an invaluable source of information especially during COVID. They really have been in the trenches fighting for all of us. And so being a part of the association has been very, very helpful to all of us during this time.
And they're still lobbying about the FAST Act to make sure that gets through, because without that, we have no money. Correct.
All right. So then if there are no other questions about those, I'm going to turn it over to David Stearns actually to cover D, E, F, G, and H, to cover those quickly. Those are just additional policies. You know, we're kind of having the board just review them, and he'll go into more detail about them.
Thank you, Ms. Molden. So policy or items D through H are in fact policy revisions, part of the ongoing effort to take CAT's policy, dust them off and make sure they're current, and then with an eye towards having them reviewed annually going forward. So item D is actually a combination of a couple policies. So we're calling it the harassment, discrimination, and retaliation policy. And so this policy basically seeks to define those terms and to prohibit it and what's prohibited. The ADA policy, item E, is a ongoing policy, not much changes to that. The records management policy is an expansion of a policy we have to deal with old records around here at CAT. Basically, we'll be looking to follow the state schedule, they call it, which gives you specific timeframes that you can hold on to various types of documents and then you can get rid of them. And we have FMLA policy, not a whole lot of change in that area of law, but just kind of bringing it up to date, make sure we're staying current. And the progressive discipline policy. All of these policies, the board will be getting fairly soon here. The new proposed policy and that same kind of format where it shows you the changes from the old policy that you have been experiencing to date. So you'll get those to you fairly soon, I expect, next day or so. And that is it for the upcoming policies.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stearns. If there are no other questions about that, the items I and J are two grants that we are seeking approval to move forward with. They're very quick turnaround grants. We really have almost less than 30 days on both. They were brought to our attention not only from FTA, but actually someone at the county sent those grants to us as well. So there's a lot of talk about them. We've had conversations with the city as well. One is for transit-oriented development pilot program that focuses on transit-oriented development in water or fixed guideway. And so we do have two projects that we are considering, one being the creation of a dock in the Eastern Wharf development that is adjacent to an intermodal that would have a bus stop and potentially a bike share station. That's one option. The other option is a bus rapid transit study on the 14 Abercorn corridor. And so both of those projects have been pushed by various factions. We have the MPC involved in conversations as well. And so we'll be making a final decision and prayerfully moving forward with a grant application. Grant world that's my language. That's something that I have done historically at agencies that I've been a part of. And so I absolutely want to see us really have a successful and strong grant program here at CAT. In terms of the COVID-19 research demonstration, we're looking at something that focuses on paratransit, actually. Something that is, contactless ticketing, as well as something that takes temperatures on the vehicles. We've been contacted by Route Match that we're already currently using. They're wanting to partner with us on this grant application. And so we're looking at going forward. And Ms. Dice is actually leading those efforts. I don't know, Ms. Dice, if I've left off anything with those applications. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think you've hit it all. We've got great partners involved in these grants. And as you said, we talked to the city, we've talked to the county, we've talked to MPC, we've got some private folks involved. And so we've got a good local team already. And that's a key in these grant applications that we have the local buy-in. So we're excited and moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dice. Get up then, Alderman Leggett, if you want me to move through the last two. You've already seen the budget amendment calendar as well as the service changes. The only thing that's left is the diversity and inclusion assessment. You recall shortly after I started, I committed to taking the agency through a diversity and inclusion assessment. Those results are in. I cannot tell you I'm excited about them. We have some work to do. And so I've actually invited the consultants to talk to the board and share the results of the assessment with the board. We will be sending out a written assessment from the consultant, as well as they will be making a presentation to you all at the board meeting. And that concludes the proposed agenda items.
Thank you, CEO Marlin. You might as well keep on going because you're the next item up.
I think Dr.
I got two questions. Did we get anything on those grants from our lobbyists?
We did, actually.
Oh, good. That's what I'm checking, because I know they're coming up for review. Is that going to be next month? I know those RFPs went out.
The RFPs went out, and we actually sent them back out for a little bit longer period of time to give people a chance to know about it and apply. And so that'll be coming in, as well as our legal counsel.
Okay.
Anything else, Doc?
No, I'm not happy about the D&I assessment, but we've heard the rumors, so we'll wait and see what the report says.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Wait.
Well, they will be available to share all the information and answer questions, and I'll be sending you the written assessment before the board meeting, so that you can have all your questions ready for their presentation.
Yeah, because I know Jeff from APTA is part of the D&I for APTA that was on the search committee.
So, all right.
Anything else from anybody else? Any questions before we go to new business? Because we have nothing under old business right now.
Right. All right. So if you're ready for me to go forward, I just asked for this item to be added to the agenda. I know that on my contract, it stated that I was supposed to put together or work with the board to put together an evaluation tool. And so I just wanted to kind of say, here I am. Let's work together on this. I know I submitted a proposed instrument to the former committee chair, Dr. Robinson. And so I just wanted to just put that back out so that the committee could continue their conversation about it. It is definitely, of course, on my radar. So I want to make sure it's on your radar as a committee.
Okay. Just as another thing, I know we talked about it, the KPIs. That was a big part of the CEO evaluation instrument in the past, and we know the numbers on those KPIs now are way out of date. So I don't know if it's the committee's job to update those, or maybe someone in the executive staff could give us some better numbers so that can be evaluated as a tool for CEO evaluation.
Okay, I wasn't aware that there were any specific KPIs at the time of my hire. We
had talked about it before. I think you came on board, where it was like 18 passengers an hour, which we haven't been at since like 90 or 2015. And that dictated all the other ratios, and everything had to be off because we were never at 18. We're probably down to what, 14 now or 12?
Yeah, 12.
So it's going to be a real new instrument for evaluating. We had talked about the 360 at one time, which is sending out to all the employees and getting feedback from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we could still do something like that, but we need a format for that. And we kind of didn't get to it for quite a while. And then when we went to this new agenda for the committees, we kind of got away from our committee assignments, which that was part of, and that's partly my fault. When I was chairman, I tried to keep pushing it. And then when I gave up that position, we kind of let it just drift for a while. And this new format doesn't give us time to debate those issues. So we have to figure out a way to do it. We've been talking about it for 5 months, and I think it's time. We even had a report from Mike Brown when he was interim on evaluation of the CEO job. So we have some information, but we definitely have to get on it because you need to know. We need to let you know what we expect. And it's unfair to you, and it'll be unfair to the other members who have to evaluate it if we haven't given you enough details. So I hope Dietrich and Dr. Robinson and I can get together and get this moving forward, even if we have to do it out of committee.
Well, Dr. O, that was going to be
There you are. You moved. You were over on the left before.
That was my suggestion would be that we, because of the committee structure and the way we hold committee meetings now, it's going to require an additional meeting on our part where just the 3 of us meet.
I agree. We don't have time in this format because I think we're already over.
Yeah, but we need to do it right away, Chairman-elect. We need to schedule something right away so we can start working on it now.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yeah, I never say no to Dr. Robinson.
I don't either.
Even when we're shopping down in Jekyll Island.
Anything else for CEO Malden on the performance evaluation of the CEO? Anybody? Thank you. And CEO Malden, if you want to, this is a perfect opportunity as we close out to allow our new team members to introduce themselves.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask Mr. Hall, followed by Mr. Cooksey, followed by Ms. Frenny, to just give a brief spiel about themselves, a little background information, and maybe where you intend on taking this position.
All right, I'll start out. I think most of you heard a little about my background. I did 4 years in transportation with Savannah College of Art and Design. Prior to that, I did 27 years at the Savannah Police Department. I retired as a captain. During my tenure there, I did extensive work in safety, security, emergency management, internal affairs, training, the whole 9 yards. I've been an adjunct professor at several universities for the last 13 years, where I taught security studies, criminal justice, business management, a couple of other type courses. And I'm ecstatic to be here at CAT, where I can use my training, education, and experience to help move CAT forward. I've learned a lot in the whole 7 days since I've been here. Ms. Malden is an excellent leader. I've learned a lot under her tutelage already about public transportation as it relates to safety and security. I look at bringing to the board a lot of safety and security initiatives that will prepare CAT for years to come in that arena. And again, I'm just glad to be here. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Cooksey.
Yes, good afternoon. Very nice to meet everybody. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is serving the community and as well as the organization. And, looking forward, what I like to do and is really work with, the entire staff. I bring a lot of transportation experience. I worked my way up from the ground up. I started out actually as a bus operator, kind of working up through the ranks. And so I, have a good idea of how to be successful, and chart a path forward. Again, I do love working in the community and, bringing our service, improving our service and the things that we need to do here. Overall, I have 25 years of leadership. I've worked both in private and the public transportation sector. So I feel pretty well-rounded. I'm very excited to be here and very excited to work with everyone to move the organization forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cooksey. Ms. Frenny. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Here we go. Sorry about that. I had to use Zoom on my phone, but Mr. Chair and fellow board members, I am Nikki Frenney. I am excited to be joining the CAT team or the CAT family in November. I have 20 years of transit experience. I started at Lynx in Orlando, and I worked in the private sector for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was a reporter, and I was also the spokeswoman for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for about 6 years, where I served in the Governor Lawton Childs and the Governor Jeb Bush administration. My love for transit transcends my career. I enjoy doing communications and marketing, and I look forward to expanding the awareness as well as increasing ridership through marketing and communications here at CAT. I've known Miss Malden and followed her career for a number of years, and look forward to working with her and under her leadership to do everything we can to increase ridership and the visibility of CAT here in Chatham County.
All right. Well, that rounds out the new hires for this month. We believe that the last of our executive team will officially be on board in time for the November committee meetings, and then we will round that out and really forge ahead in charting a new path and writing a new chapter in the history of Chatham area transit. So thank you, Alderman Leggett, for the opportunity to introduce those team members.
I have one question. We eliminated November 3rd and everything is going to be on November 5th?
November 5th.
Okay,
yes.
I thought we did, and I saw it. I just looked at the agenda for the next meeting. Are they still working on a plan for that meeting with the newly elected politicians like we did this year in January?
We are working on that. I don't have an answer yet.
Okay.
I'll provide an update to you, hopefully by the board meeting.
And did we nix the picnic?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I hadn't heard an official word on it, and I know we talked about it.
For right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting cold. Be a nice spring event maybe next year.
Prayerfully.
Prayerfully.
It was good meeting you all. Hope you can bring a lot of good news to us during the coming years. Look forward to working with all of you as well. And I'm done. I'm going to sign off unless there's anything.
Dr. Robinson?
I just want to express my same sentiments as Dr. Halloran. Welcome to everybody and to all of you that have been with us for a while and for the great job you've done. You know, change is not easy and change is not painless. But under Ms. Malden's leadership, we've been able to tread these waters, and we've done it very effectively. And I think we'll continue to do so. So a great team and a great team effort. So for my part, as long as you guys keep that up, you'll always make me smile.
Well, as newly chair, Dietrich Leggett, I want to welcome each and every one of you again. I want to thank you for your involvement in this family, because the reason why I say family is not just an organization. This is a family organization where we all work together as a team and we all show leadership. So, you know, at any moment you might be thrust into a position where you have to show all of your ability and your worth. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. So again, thank you for allowing me to be your chair, and I look forward to being as transparent and as fluent as I can. So we have our next meeting, as you can see on your agenda. Our next meeting is the governance meeting. It's October the 20th, and our board meeting is October 27th. So we don't have anything else for the good of this order. I want to adjourn this meeting. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
I'm going to call you in a little while, CEO.